maybe we should just go over there.
Let's start setting up.
Perhaps we should move the car over there so they don't bother us here.
The car will be a potato advertisement.
Advertisement potato tour? Exactly, yes. I didn't think about that.
I'll think for you. What you don't figure out, I'll figure out.
Well, you have experience, don't you? Do I believe?
You can film and turn it on. We'll edit what we need later.
Because this warehouse here was our last major investment in potato production. This is a warehouse with a storage capacity of 3,600 tons. There are 4 sections here. This is our container farm. And here we store our own seeds and those varieties that are in small quantities. The rest is mostly stored in bulk over there. We have a basement, and here is our base. This is our second base where we have grains, and we plan to gradually develop further here. I slightly improved the elevator last year. Now, according to the plans, we will build this hangar. Also for storing soybeans, because we grow corn, so it's not possible to store grain as we used to. We need to face it. Previously, it wasn't particularly focused on grains here. And the equipment, accordingly, we will also make platforms to store here. Maybe we'll make some kind of canopy, because storing like this outside, all the equipment is expensive.
But will there be a canopy?
I think for now. There's an idea like if we make a hangar with a square section, then most likely a canopy, yes. Because then it will be necessary to make it like Fatagra. They also have a warehouse like this, you see. Here they skimped at the time, damn. It should have been done differently. You mean to make more of an overhang? Well, in the end, you see, they kind of saved money, damn, to make it this low. Such nonsense, really. If you were in the Netherlands, you would see that farmers, all of them, for example, always have canopies. Do you know why? You see, potatoes for drying containers. Yes, not containers, but potatoes. Potatoes ventilation. Of course, you see, according to science, when you harvest potatoes in completely dry weather, they have pure moisture content of 1 to 2%, right? On completely dry potatoes, you have 1 to 2% moisture present. That's why it needs to be dried a little before placing it into storage. And this is a kind of technology, consider it free ventilation. Exactly. That's how, according to this scheme. So we also, when we lay them down, we first set up the containers here. And they stay here for, say, a day, overnight, right? They stand for a day, right? And then we place them directly into the warehouse. That's how we work.
Dear friends, I want to say that today we are at the company Samara-Solana with Maxim Kislyakov. And I think Maxim will show us his storage inside, right?
Of course.
Let's go. Maxim, how old is Samara-Solana?
It will be 30 years next year, officially. Yes, because generally the year of establishment is considered to be 95, when the decision to create this company was made. But there were difficulties with registration. Previously, everything was registered through the Ministry of Justice. It took time. And so, from the moment the decision to create it was made until its registration, a year passed. But officially, Samara-Solana's birthday is August 13th, 1996.
It's hard for our picture that he came for the anniversary.
We will try. We are planning to hold an event next year, but we will still be guided. This event might not be as media focused or large for the community. We want to honor our employees. We will take the experience of our colleagues from the Kemerovo region. They also held a celebration at one time, but they did it right. They simply held an event for their own people. And the money they planned to spend on the show, they spent on rewarding their employees.
I think
this is relevant now.
This is very relevant, yes. And 30 years ago, the company was founded. Solana is a German company. The main selections.
The story is as follows. At one time, when the Soviet Union ceased to exist, naturally, opportunities opened up for other companies to enter here and bring in their technologies. The Lunacharsky State Farm was always advanced, always thanks to a whole array of competent leaders. A rather good production management system was established there, and therefore it was initially equipped with storage facilities and warehouses. And first the English came in, then the Dutch. But when the Chechen campaign began, the European government decided to roll back the programs. But the Germans proved to be more foresighted, and they still, so to speak, got involved in this matter.
Samara-Solana today. What is it like? How much land, how much storage, how many people work there?
As of today, we cultivate about 3,000 hectares of land. Of these, we have about 1,500 under irrigation. But we irrigate, naturally, not all areas at all times. Mostly we irrigate potatoes, soybeans, corn, well, sometimes grains too, because we grow durum wheat. Regarding storage, we can easily store 12,000 tons of products. We have both bulk storage, including the same basement, which is a Soviet legacy. But it's the best storage in terms of climate and temperature, and this is the modern new storage. As for the staff, in principle, the team has been stable for quite a long time. We currently have 53 people. We somehow, thanks to, I don't know, maybe to the name or some traditions that were supported by the previous management, we have quite a young team. So we work. It's not always possible to say that this is a plus, because the youth now looks in a different direction. But in any case, we are quite well staffed. And people also always respond to the same changes, for example, to some modernization. They are understanding.
What problems or tasks does the company face today that you are addressing? Probably because I communicate with many farmers. There is a question about machine operators. Yes, so tractor drivers now, whether you like it or not, are aging, and the youth don't want to work. Is there any experience in solving this issue, or are you also looking for ways to attract all young people?
Well, in general, and the problem is global, it's a problem across the country as a whole. And I think it's an industry-wide issue worldwide, because from our trips abroad, we hear the same thing, that the youth don't want to go to work, that no one is particularly eager. But in our case, it is being solved by implementing modern systems. That is, modern equipment, modern management, and control systems. This simplifies the life of the machine operator, the agronomist, and the manager in order to control the process. That's it. And accordingly, the remuneration. Plus, we practiced joint trips at one time, meaning the best employees would travel with us. But we always tried and still try to make these trips not just for entertainment purposes, like going to some hot country or something like that. We specifically go to industry exhibitions, and there, within the framework of the exhibitions, we look at new technologies, consider something for ourselves, and discuss various things. And there's also some cultural program. So it's precisely about the team, working with the team, and working on the modernization of production. We also strive to support our employees in terms of training. So every year we try to send them somewhere. This includes both mechanics and specialists. Exactly. In other words, we are improving people's qualifications.
And if, for example, I talk to some mechanics, depending on their class, the time they've worked in the team, in the company, there are certain salary bonuses.
Of course.
Do you use it?
We do, but we also have a bonus system here. It is based on the results for the year. We count the year from June to June. And naturally, people who, for example, have been working here longer receive a certain bonus for that.
Maxim, what other plans, if it's not a secret, does the company have for the near future? Collaboration with large, perhaps seed companies? If it's not a secret, can you tell us?
There are no secrets. We have been engaged in seed production and continue to do so. we had certain issues due to the special military operation and the pandemic. That is, the supply chains of basic materials were somewhat disrupted. We have been resolving these issues domestically, and now our primary plan is to continue collaboration with the company Solana. After all, we bear the name Solana, and the result of working with other companies. I don't want to say anything bad about other breeders, but perhaps due to our experience, we see that Solana varieties show some of the best results, demonstrate stability, and there is demand in the market. But this is more the work of marketers and other guys. In production, we would like to, and we will continue to do so. That is, working with other companies. As of today, we are working with PepsiCo, producing all their famous varieties like VR, Lady Claire, Newton, and Brook. That is a significant part of our production is occupied by these technical varieties. That's it. We also work with other companies, mainly with free varieties. That's it. And Solana?
So, Maxim, personally, for you, what was the greatest discovery or the most significant event in your work in agriculture that comes to mind right now? What was the most significant?
That it's not easy at all. Ha 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 ha. And that it requires so much attention here. That is, those who approach their work delicately are satisfied with the result and the work itself. So the approach must be comprehensive at every stage. There are no unimportant things. Any moment you have in production is not just unimportant. If you don't do it, you must understand that you can't expect the maximum result. That was the most important discovery for me. That you can't say here, oh, tomorrow, or the day after, or we won't do this. Well, then don't expect
for the result.
Yes.
Maxim, well, one of the final questions, it's very important to me. I visit many enterprises where several generations work. I know that your father also works in agriculture. Yes, I visited him. And I have a traditional question for all participants. What character trait of your father is not inherent in you, but you wish you had?
Persistence is.
Persistence?
Yes, persistence. Here, like in any business, you always need to have this persistence. And maybe it doesn't always help because persistence is not the same as stubbornness. Exactly. But you have to kind of follow through. If you've chosen a path, you must follow it. And be consistent and most persistent in it. That's the theme. Yes, there's still a reason for it.
To show a video that it's cool to work in agriculture. And who installed the ventilation?
Gaugli.
A good company.
Good.
And who assembles the containers?
Well, we purchased containers from different places. As of today, we brought all of these here from Novosibirsk. But now the container stock still needs updating. And we are considering all options because every year we wash, disinfect, and inspect the containers, meaning the containers are constantly in use. They don't just sit idle. And this requires
some returnable packaging.
Yes. I know what you want to tell me. I know it perfectly well.
Regarding polishing, sanding?
Regarding everything. I can tell you that this is not optimal at all. This is not how it's done.
Max, listen, well, here, in any case, each container is not 5 rubles, or rather 5 rubles. It used to be 5 rubles, right?
It was never 5. Never was. From 7.
In 2012, 5 rubles.
From 100. Well, in 2012, there weren't even any plans to do anything with containers.
I was just starting to work, and I had...
This particular storage, from the project to the installation, it was all kind of the Gogol company. Because even the project itself, with the internal arrangement of the panel, with the external arrangement of the load-bearing structures, that's all Gogol. But here, right here, in this storage, there's potential. It's not finished, because if you noticed, All the main power wiring is on that side. Initially, the plan was to make it spider-like, that is to extend it by 2 more sections. But we encountered a problem with the soil here. The research showed that the soil here is not quite suitable. It is not suitable, so we chose the location and decided not to take risks, not to increase costs with the foundation and all that. And here, this gallery is 24 by 30 meters. We made it quite high to accommodate ventilation later. And in that part, we plan to set up a pre-sale preparation line. That is inspections or packaging. Because despite being a seed farming enterprise, we can still cultivate quality food potatoes on some plots. And the supply of seed. Potatoes in packaging, in nets, is also relevant, as last year we delivered about 400 tons to Mongolia. And one of the requirements was packaging. We involved our neighbors. That is, we packed them, the 25 kilogram net with all the labels, with all the packaging details. That's it. And previously, this wasn't as relevant because big bags were the main packaging, but now it's relevant. Plus, for example, retail trade. For now, people don't really pay attention to this, but I think that the same gardeners.
Well, for gardeners, maybe 10 kilograms. Yes, exactly.
The market isn't that extensive, but for the popularization of varieties, sometimes it's actually not bad.
The question is, how not extensive is it if we say that in the organized sector, we collect 8 million tons, while the total production in Russia is 16 million tons? How is this unorganized sector not extensive?
Well, you have to understand that the knowledge and approach we have can't be instilled in a gardener because they...
I am ready to disagree. I saw one popularizer of potato cultivation. I don't remember exactly. I won't advertise him. But he has about 2 million views.
Well, then we should also go into agroblogging. I'm also ready to tell them how it's all done. Here we have, in this case, we have a special area because there's a loader here. No, the one that, yes, up to 7 meters. Yes, because the height here is significant. There. So this storage will continue to be equipped with more machinery. It will continue to... This is exactly where we will place. So this is exactly where the ventilation control will be located and some control points regarding the line itself. The line will be located here. In this part, we will place both the loading zone racks and the ramp, which we will either make inside or outside, because in principle, the dock shelter and year-round loading are not so relevant for us, but we start shipping to the south from mid-February.
The temperature already.
Yes, yes, yes. Still, the temperature at this time does not allow us to work fully. With open doors or something, we will address this issue. Maybe we will do something outside. Here we have staff inside. They are not present when we have the agronomist's office there behind the containers, right? Workers have a changing area and a dining area there. So here's another point that is often overlooked in agriculture. It's the care for the staff. Because when it comes to attracting people, we talk about the fact that machine operators are not the main part of the work. And there aren't many of them because modern equipment allows for efficient work. For example, we work exclusively with combinations. That is, all operations are performed in one pass when planting potatoes. We enter the harrowed field, where fertilizer has been applied behind the harrow, and leave behind ready ridges, then plant protection products, and irrigation take over. That's how we mainly work. So, for example, in the field, if we have organized catering, we provide meals on site. All these activities take place in the field. Then, directly at the storage facilities, the staff involved in sorting, pre-sale preparation, and shipping have their meals here. We have a canteen here, and we bring food on site. But basic amenities such as warm toilets and wash basins.
And even, I think, especially for women.
Yes, 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 for some reason. I often notice this. and we still have issues that we will address and improve, specifically the living conditions on site.
Do you know what other work experience I had? Throughout the day, one person was constantly sweeping. And this actually significantly reduces the dust in the workshop because most of the dust comes from the forklift and in the raw material dumping area.
But we've been thinking about this for a long time. So now, for example, if we talk about certain types that require humidification during storage, this is a technology that wasn't invented by us, and there is also a technical solution for this. But during these trips abroad, we have repeatedly seen that the issue of dust is addressed not only with sweeping machines, we also have a karcher, and we sweep periodically, just sweeping with a broom. But there are also systems where in the dustiest spots a sprinkler is installed that, for example, when rotating around a container, automatically sprays a fine mist of water. This does not affect the quality or anything else. It simply suppresses the dust cloud. Then, for example, the drop points, but there are still bends there. When the potatoes are moving at the drop points, a certain dose is also applied. And this ultimately allows the table to be served with that, firstly, the dust removed, and as if there is no dust anymore. And also another technical solution, it's quite simple. Above the sorting area, there is a cabin where air is pumped in at a slightly higher pressure. Yes, through a filter, just a regular coarse filter, air is pumped in. And inside people sit, they no longer experience at least this dust.
The key word is people.
Yes, because now, for example, if we talk about attracting someone, we still need to address this issue. Currently, our company, Nambangi, specifically competes for attracting personnel with Avtovaz, with the free economic zone. That is, naturally, there are modern enterprises created according to all standards, and there's a slightly different approach. Yes, we also fully provide people with workwear. That is, with all these protective means. In other words, we have never economized on this, and we don't economize now. But this doesn't solve the issue that the work is still in dusty conditions. And some work areas need to be developed. Plus, we also see in other enterprises among colleagues that many are already addressing these issues. And there's nothing supernatural about it. We already have ideas on how we will address this. We have plans, we have ideas. The most important thing is to maintain the price, primarily the price.
Well, yes.
That is the price. Yes, it's undeniable here. In terms of pricing, it's beyond competition. But we don't always look at the price. We look at how effective the equipment is.
The result, yes, of usage.
You can buy it cheaply, and it won't perform half of the required operations. So where's the economy in that?
Russian elevators?
No,
German?
they've been around for quite a long time. That is, it was all still being built, probably until around 2010. Exactly. I can't say we're very satisfied with using such a system, but since it's there, it works quite well in principle. Each holds 300 tons, and we mainly store here. But it's more maneuverable for us because during the harvest period, ventilation is connected to each one, and you can set it up like this. Here we have the first intake, so that we don't have to dry it. We can just blow it through. The dryer is an Allen Blanc. We built this here last year. Here I also plan to install platform scales for 70 tons down below. Now most of the vehicles are large-sized. Our main scale is for 60 tons. And here, since
Remove the concrete, place it down, or
there's enough height here, I am doing,
just raise the ramp.
it only requires 40 centimeters for this. And here we made it with a margin because we already had experience where modern grain trucks couldn't approach due to some crossbeam. That's it. We'll equip more here because it's quite far to the scales. And plus, potatoes are also shipped from here. And there's the turnover of grains because we have soy, corn, barley, durum wheat, and soy. I mentioned soy. So in any case, it turns out that here when we are processing there? Yes. Well, it's more convenient for the warehouse and accounting when everything is in place. And additional scales, well, yes, they cost quite a lot of money in modern conditions, but they are necessary. So it will be really convenient here because the length allows it. Here, the platform is a weighing platform. You can place it right under this neck here, and it will be possible to account for it. You can duplicate 2 displays, one display for the operator, another display here for the driver. Yes, and that's it. And it will work perfectly. Everything will be precise, and the accuracy of loading will be ensured because we work exclusively within the legal framework. We don't load anyone with an overload. And as a rule, there are conflict situations when drivers might want to earn something extra or something else. That is, they go to the scales. There's an overload, we send them back, and it starts, oh what? Why? Well, it's a bit inconvenient because we have a pit here. That's it. And modern vehicles, if they have the side loading or unloading, for example, it's a bit problematic here. There's not enough length.
Do you have to disassemble the vehicles?
Vehicles. Well, unfortunately, the proximity to the city and
Scrap metal collectors, right?
there's this unusual and peculiar mentality, and somewhat that seems to persist.
Everything around is collective farm. Everything around is...
Yes, everything around belongs to the collective farm. Everything around is mine. And it forces us to completely disassemble the vehicles every year. We even remove some structural elements like brackets to avoid issues with access, because for 2 consecutive years we lost all the power cables. And on these vehicles, the power cable is a 7-core specific type. You can't just go and buy it anywhere. So it's not like you can just come and purchase it. And that's why we completely disassemble them. And here, right now, the irrigation team is busy equipping the bower and frigate systems. So we are conducting a very large amount of work on equipping and spring outfitting of the machines. We are constantly repairing as well. Over there is a whole set of new wheels for the frigate. Fortunately, our grains and legumes are doing well with high yields. So we need efficient machines. Well, the shortage of personnel also dictates its own conditions. So we are looking towards imported equipment of the same class. In fact, they are the best machines. And they, for example, we have been doing very well with barley every year. This year,
What kind of barley?
magnificent barley. What variety?
Yes.
Golden Eagle. We have now settled on Burkut. Previously, we had Canadian varieties like Boosby and Dolio. They were good, but we no longer have access to that material.
And don't the breweries order it?
No, not the breweries. We won't even try brewing here. Our barley interests everyone in the rotation. We approach potatoes through it. That's it. And in principle, we are satisfied with domestic breeding. I mean, Burkut is excellent.
Samara breeding. Golden Eagle.
It provides good quality, yields a good harvest, and in terms of quality, everything suits us. And this year we traded it very well from the field, practically without any processing, I would say. We were very pleased with the price, which at the time was almost, well, nearly 2 rubles above the market. And then when I hear the current price, I think, well, that's exactly half the storage in difference. If you multiply by the volume that was sold, I think that was exactly it. You could have built half a warehouse with the difference, which by storing it for half a year, you could have sold it. Well, there is also space here where you can develop in this area because the area is large.
There is room to grow, right?
There is room to grow, yes. And in principle, everything was initially planned that way. This new warehouse, the road, the storage area where the equipment is now, this is the result of the last 10 years of work.
Maxim, thank you very much for taking the time to show your enterprise.
Thank you, first of all, for continuing to develop and popularize our work, showing that it's not simple, that potatoes don't just jump out of the ground or grow on trees, and that it requires a lot of attention, that it's a significant human effort. And it's also important to show people that this is quite a high-tech production requiring qualified personnel, and it's very interesting. And without this, we cannot move forward. So it's mutual here.
Freeze frame.